My husband, the man I loved and trusted for 7 years, gave me a $50,000 jade bracelet for our anniversary. I was so happy I cried, believing I was the luckiest woman in the world. But that very night, while I was still intoxicated with happiness, a text message from an unknown number arrived. It was just a few words, but it felt like a bucket of ice water poured over my heart. Get rid of it or you'll regret it. I didn't believe it. I thought it was just a cruel joke. So, I secretly gave the bracelet to my sister-in-law, who had always admired it. And then, just one morning later, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the house. I was left frozen, witnessing a horrific scene, a sight I will probably never forget for the rest of my life. I am 35 years old, an age where I'm no longer young enough to be a daydreamer, but not yet old enough to be hardened against life's surprises. My name is Maya Anderson, a reasonably well-known architect with my own small but successful design firm. Friends often said I had it all, a career, looks, and a perfect husband. My husband, Ethan Hayes, is the vice president of sales for a major tech corporation. He is 3 years older than me, tall, elegant, and exceptionally doting. In 7 years together, he never once raised his voice at me. Whenever I came home late from work, he would have dinner ready. Whenever I was stressed, he would massage my shoulders and make me tea. He was my safe harbor. My life seemed perfect, with only one minor issue: my relationship with my mother-in-law, Carol. She was sharp and controlling, and she never truly liked me. Maybe it was because I didn't come from old money, or because I was too independent. She never said it directly, but I felt it, in her looks, in her tone, in every subtle comment. She often compared me to Jessica, her youngest son's wife. Jessica didn't have a stable job, but she knew how to please her. At every family gathering, Carol would praise Jessica and then look at me with quiet disappointment. If only everyone in this house were like Jessica, she would say. I always stayed silent. As long as Ethan loved me, I told myself, nothing else mattered. Then our 7th wedding anniversary arrived. Ethan had prepared a special evening at an exclusive restaurant. He picked me up in a suit, holding a bouquet of Ecuadorian roses. Under candlelight, he looked at me with the same love as when we first met. Maya, thank you for being by my side all these years, he said. Then he opened a velvet box. Inside was a jade bracelet, deep emerald green, flawless, breathtaking. I could barely breathe. He gently placed it on my wrist. Do you like it? He asked. It's beautiful, I whispered. It's only $50,000, he said casually. The number shocked me, but he smiled. You deserve it. And I cried. That weekend, we visited his parents. I wore the bracelet, not to show off, but to show that I was loved. Everyone noticed. Jessica was amazed. But Carol's reaction was different. How much did it cost? She asked. $50,000, Ethan replied. Her face changed instantly. Are you insane? That money could have helped your brother or Jessica. The room went silent. I felt the bracelet suddenly become heavy on my wrist. That night, I couldn't sleep. I placed the bracelet on my vanity and tried to calm myself. Then I saw the message. Get rid of it or you'll regret it. My body went cold. I stared at the bracelet. It looked the same, but somehow different. Darker. Dangerous. When I showed Ethan, he dismissed it. Just a jealous prank, he said. He wasn't worried. Not even curious. That was the first moment something felt wrong. In the following days, I stopped wearing the bracelet. But something else changed too. Ethan became distant. My mother-in-law and Jessica became strangely obsessed with the bracelet. They kept bringing it up. Hinting. Pressuring. Watching. One day, Carol asked directly, why don't you let Jessica borrow it? That's when a terrifying thought crossed my mind. What if the bracelet wasn't safe? What if they wanted Jessica to wear it for a reason? I refused. And everything exploded. Ethan accused me of overthinking. My mother-in-law called me selfish. I was alone. That night, I made a decision. If they wanted the bracelet so badly, I would give it to them. At Carol's birthday party, in front of everyone, I took off the bracelet and placed it on Jessica's wrist. May it bring you luck, I said. She was overjoyed. Carol was satisfied. But Ethan looked afraid. That's when I knew. There was something terribly wrong. After that night, Jessica wore the bracelet constantly. She treated it like a treasure. Like it was her lifeline. And I knew the truth was about to reveal itself. Her social media was flooded with selfies featuring the bracelet, accompanied by endless boastful captions. "Thank you to my dearest sister-in-law, a long-held dream come true." Wearing this jade and feeling the good luck rolling in. She truly believed the bracelet was a lucky charm, a symbol of her changing fortunes. My mother-in-law was also immensely pleased. She went around telling everyone how considerate I had become by gifting the precious item to my sister-in-law. She painted a picture of a harmonious family, of loving sisters-in-law, a picture so perfect it was fake. But I knew that behind their glee, a dark truth was quietly taking root. I lived those days in a state of anxious dread. My move had been made, but I couldn't rest easy. With each passing day, I held my breath, waiting. I both hoped for something to happen to expose the truth and feared the price of that truth. Every time I saw Jessica, saw her radiant smile, a wave of guilt washed over me. Was I a cold-blooded monster for using my own relative as a test subject? But then I would remember Ethan's cold eyes that night, his terrifying silence, and my determination would surge again. I had to know the truth. I couldn't live in this deception any longer. About 3 days after receiving the bracelet, the first omen appeared. That evening, while the family was having dinner, Jessica suddenly started scratching her wrist uncomfortably. "Why has my skin been so itchy lately? Especially right here where I wear the bracelet," she said, pointing to a faint red mark. My mother-in-law glanced at it and dismissed it. "It's probably just seasonal allergies. The weather's changing. Even an old woman like me feels it. Just rub some ointment on it after dinner and it'll be fine." Jessica nodded. "I guess so." She didn't think much of it and continued eating happily, occasionally admiring the bracelet. But I couldn't ignore it. My heart clenched. Itchiness. A red mark. The first signs had appeared, just as I had feared. I glanced at Ethan. He was eating calmly, his face showing no change in expression, as if he hadn't heard Jessica's complaint at all. His terrifying composure only strengthened my belief that he knew. He knew everything. In the following days, Jessica's condition didn't improve. It worsened. The red mark on her wrist became more pronounced, spread wider, and tiny bumps began to appear. She scratched constantly, sometimes until her skin broke. "It's so uncomfortable, Mom," she whined. "I've tried all sorts of creams, but nothing helps. Do you think I'm allergic to metal? The clasp is white gold. Maybe my skin is reacting to it." "Nonsense," Carol snapped. "Who's allergic to white gold? You probably ate something funny. A precious thing like that can only do you good, not harm." She remained convinced the bracelet was blameless, or perhaps she was deliberately deceiving herself. I sat there observing silently. Every complaint from Jessica, every red bump on her skin was a hammer blow to my conscience. But at the same time, it was evidence, another step closer to the truth. I tried to hint at it. During one meal, I pretended to tell a story about a friend who bought fake jewelry and had a severe allergic reaction, ending up in the hospital. I emphasized that there were many fakes now, and even certificates of authenticity could be forged. I hoped my story would make them suspicious, that they would take the bracelet off to get it checked. But no. Jessica scoffed. "Your friend probably bought it from a street market. My bracelet was bought by Ethan from a major jeweler. It cost $50,000, not some cheap knockoff. It can't be fake." Her blind faith in its value had clouded her judgment. My mother-in-law even chimed in. "Exactly. Maya is always worrying about nothing. She doesn't trust her own family but believes outsiders." I could only sigh inwardly. Greed and ignorance are a deadly combination. I had given them a chance, but they refused it themselves. The climax came one weekend afternoon. Jessica returned from a friend's birthday party. She had been drinking heavily, her face flushed. As soon as she got home, she rushed to the bathroom and threw up violently. Afterward, she collapsed onto the sofa, trembling, complaining of fatigue and shortness of breath. "Jessica, what's wrong?" Carol panicked. "I probably just had too much to drink, Mom," Jessica whispered. "I'll be fine after a little rest." But her condition didn't improve. Her skin turned pale, her lips purple, and her breathing became rapid. Ethan had just come home from work. Seeing the scene, he panicked too. "Call an ambulance now." While the family was in chaos, I was the only one who remained calm. I quietly walked over to Jessica. I didn't look at her face. I looked at her wrist. The skin around the jade bracelet was swollen and angry red, the bumps spreading up her arm. Under the light, the jade bracelet was still coldly beautiful, its green color now sinister. The ambulance arrived and took Jessica away in critical condition.
My mother-in-law wailed.
Ethan rushed around handling paperwork.
No one paid attention to me.
I stood in a corner, watching the ambulance speed away. My heart was in turmoil. Was I guilty? Yes. I knew the danger and remained silent. I had used Jessica as a substitute. But did I have any other choice? If I hadn't, the person in that ambulance might have been me. Justice always finds its way, no matter how deeply it is hidden by money or power. The truth is like the sun, you can block it for a while, but it will always rise again. After leaving the garden cafe, I didn't go back to the hotel. I held tightly onto the folder Mr. Vance had given me and went to a quiet park. Sitting alone, I began reading. I needed to understand everything, the full extent of the crimes my husband's family had committed. With every page, the truth became darker. Their plan was never just about killing me for my wealth.
It had started long before I even married into the family.
Mr. Vance had gathered emails between Ethan and his father, Harold, from over a year before our wedding. In those messages, they discussed me as their next target.
They had studied me like I was an object. Target, Maya Anderson. Architect. Owns her own company. Has significant assets.
Family, weak support system.
Mother deceased. Father old. Few close relatives.
Personality, kind, quiet, trusting, and easy to manipulate.
Perfect target. Reading this made my blood run cold.
To them, I wasn't a human being. I was just a plan. Their scheme had 3 stages.
First, Ethan would win my trust.
He would act like the perfect man, kind, loving, and charming, until I completely believed in him. Second, after marriage, he would slowly take control. He would involve himself in my business and finances, while my mother-in-law created constant stress at home. This would weaken me emotionally and make me depend only on Ethan. And finally, the last stage, the harvest. Once I was fully trapped, they would use the jade bracelet. I would slowly fall sick, and everyone would believe it was due to stress or illness. After my death, Ethan would inherit everything without suspicion.
It was horrifying.
Not just greed, but careful, cold planning. The file also listed other victims.
Some were cheated in business.
Others had bought their jewelry and later became mysteriously ill. One case stood out, a young businesswoman who owned luxury spas. She bought expensive jade jewelry from them. A year later, she became seriously ill, losing hair, feeling weak, her skin changing.
Doctors couldn't explain it.
Eventually, she had to sell her business cheaply to a company secretly owned by the same family.
The pattern was clear.
They used poisoned jewelry to destroy people and take their wealth.
I closed the folder.
This wasn't just my fight anymore.
It was much bigger.
I immediately contacted Mr. Davis and arranged a meeting with him and Mr. Vance. At the law office, after reviewing all the evidence, even Mr. Davis was shocked. "This isn't just a family issue," he said. "This is a criminal organization."
But we couldn't act directly. They were powerful and well-connected. We needed a smart plan.
Then Mr. Davis looked at me. "You will be the key," he said. I was confused at first, but he explained.
The family still believed I knew nothing. They thought I was scared and alone. We would use that.
I would pretend to be weak, desperate, and even superstitious. I would act like I believed the bracelet was cursed. I would beg them for help and say I wanted to take it for a ritual.
This would make them relax.
When people feel safe, they make mistakes. Meanwhile, hidden recording devices would capture their private conversations. It was risky, but it was the best chance we had. I agreed. The next day, I went to the hospital looking exhausted and broken.
I wore no makeup and made myself look weak.
When I saw my mother-in-law, I fell at her feet crying. "I'm scared, it's all my fault," I sobbed. "That bracelet is cursed.
I see nightmares. Someone is following me."
Jessica got sick because of me.
My performance worked. I could see fear in her eyes.
That evening, I got a message from Mr. Davis. "Devices installed. Everything is ready."
Soon after, Ethan called me.
I continued acting, crying and begging him to let me take the bracelet away. Finally, annoyed, he agreed.
"Do whatever you want with it.
Just stop bothering me."
He had no idea he had just made a huge mistake.
3 days later, Mr. Davis called me again.
"We got it," he said.
Their confession. At his office, I listened to the recording.
Ethan and his mother were arguing.
They blamed each other for what happened. Ethan admitted everything. The bracelet, the poison, the plan. He even said he had chosen the most toxic jade.
I couldn't breathe. It was worse than I imagined.
They didn't feel guilty at all.
They only cared about saving themselves.
That was enough. The next day, we went to the hospital together. Me, Mr. Davis, and Mr. Vance.
Everyone was there.
I looked at them calmly and said, I want to know who used a poison bracelet to harm Jessica.
They tried to deny it. But then the recording played. Their own voices filled the room.
Their faces turned pale.
Ethan collapsed. My mother-in-law fainted.
Moments later, the police walked in.
It was over. The truth had finally come out. Ethan received the harshest punishment.
His parents were also held responsible.
Their entire illegal business collapsed.
I divorced him and walked away with nothing, but also with everything I needed. My freedom. After everything, I took time to heal.
Then I chose to do something meaningful.
With Mr. Vance, I started a foundation to help women facing abuse and fraud. We provide legal and emotional support so they can protect themselves. One day, I received flowers with a note. Thank you for bringing justice. I smiled, knowing it was from him. Life is strange.
Pain brought us together. But in the end, we found peace.
Now, I am no longer a victim in someone else's story.
I wrote my own ending.
A story not about being saved, but about becoming strong enough to save myself.